Well, last year, when there was speculation that Nissan could move some future car production out of the UK, the government moved quickly to provide support and assurances, and it seemed to work. Nissan announced that they plan to build their next-generation X-Trail in Sunderland, but yesterday, Sky City editor Mark Kleiman revealed the company has changed its mind. Well, joining us now is the Liberal Democrat leader and former business secretary, Sivins Cable. Thank you very much for being with us. I'm keen to get your reaction, first of all, to this news from Nissan.
Well, it's very worrying for the North East and the workers and their families. I mean, I think that's the utmost concern. But I think it does raise fundamental questions about the Brexit strategy. I mean, 5 years ago, I was going as Secretary of State to open new models in Nissan. They were very optimistic. They thought Britain was a great place to be. They saw Britain as the gateway to Europe. That's why they were here. And now they're pulling their investment, despite the fact that the government a year ago actually was offering them lots of money to build new models here. I mean, it is a rather tragic story.
Well, we don't know, do we, that it's about Brexit? I mean, it could be about diesel cars, for example.
It could be.
At the minute, the UK and the EU is not really the best market to be selling diesel in.
Well, in fact, there is a problem with diesel vehicles, and this particular SUV was a diesel model. But as I understood it, they could have switched to petrol. There was a petrol version of this. So that is at best a partial explanation. And it does raise the question about why the government was offering them lots of money to produce a polluting car, if that was the case. No, I think Brexit is clearly a major factor. It may be one of several, but certainly a major factor. And it's not just for Nissan. I mean, the same calculations have been made throughout the car industry. I mean, if you are Vauxhall or a BMW Mini, we've already seen Jaguar Land Rover cutting back for a mixture of reasons, including Brexit. I mean, the whole industry is now rethinking its approach because it originally saw Britain as a gateway to Europe, and that gateway is now closing.
I mean, a big part of the story as well is the fact that the government gave these assurances. We don't know what these assurances were to Nissan to try and shore up the investment in the future to the UK. As a former business secretary, can you give us a bit of insight into the kind of thing that the government would have been saying?
Well, I've been trying for the last year or so to find out exactly what those assurances were. Of course, there's a limit to what government can offer because of state aid rules, but I'm quite sure that they had found a way of offering Nissan money to invest here with new models.
Why do you think money, then?
Well, money, guarantees, support for research, there are all kind of different ways that you can do this within the rules. But the reason that I think that they focused on Nissan is that Nissan are symbolically massively important. If we go back Mrs. Thatcher's days, the big turnaround in the British economy occurred when Mrs. Thatcher persuaded Nissan to come and invest in the North East, very much based on Europe being part of the single market, as it subsequently became. And it's become a kind of totem of the success of British manufacturing based on foreign investment. And it was a relatively deprived area. So if they pull it, I mean, that is a massive psychological blow as well as an economic blow to the North East.
You're talking about the uncertainty about Brexit, the fear of no deal. We don't know what the situation is, of course, particularly with Nissan, but the fear of no deal is certainly something that businesses are talking about a lot. So my question to you is, why is it that the Lib Dems are still pursuing the unicorn of a second referendum when it's pretty clear that there's no majority in Parliament for it? There's only 2 months until Brexit. Wouldn't it be better for you to be focusing your attention on trying to get a Brexit deal over the line that actually does manage to safeguard jobs as much as possible?
Well, it isn't a unicorn. I mean, this is a question of timing. I mean, I think what is going to happen is that Theresa May will bring back her deal to Parliament. I think it's very unlikely to pass. It might, but I think it's very unlikely. Parliament certainly is going to reject no deal, and half the cabinet as well.
Well, they haven't so far. I mean, if you couldn't get a majority to reject no deal, how on earth are you going to get a majority for a second referendum?
The options haven't crystallised. I think we may get to a point, and it will be a few weeks from here, where the government may itself come to the conclusion that the only way of getting its deal to progress is actually to take it to the country. I think moods can change very quickly in Parliament once they see what the options are. The idea of going back to the public and giving them the choice of the government's deal or some variant of it as against remaining in the European Union will soon seem a very attractive one, and I think it is potentially very live, though currently it is a question of timing.
Now, you've said that you'll step down when Brexit is either stopped or resolved. There's reports in the papers today, in the Mail on Sunday, that the government is planning to potentially call a snap general election in June. So if that does happen, will you lead the Lib Dems into it?
Quite probably, yes. I have said, indeed, I said I had a series of tasks which indeed were to complete the Brexit argument. It may not be resolved by the end of May, or certainly not by the end of March. To take us through local elections and into an early general election. So
you would lead the Lib Dems into that election?
I think it's very likely, yes. But there are so many uncertainties at the moment.
I mean, some people will be thinking that, you know, you've obviously waited a while to get this job as the leader of the Liberal Democrats, but at the same time, you've struggled to really make an impact, haven't you? Is it not time to hand over to someone else?
I think we've made a lot of progress, actually. I mean, if you look at what's happening on the ground, as opposed to speculation about the future.
The polls don't suggest that, though, do they?
Well, the polls do, actually. There have been a lot of local polls in which we do extremely well. The national polls are not spectacularly good, but they're certainly better than they have been for the last 8 years. And the most recent one I saw last weekend suggested that if the Labour Party stick to their present course, we finish up in the 20s, mid-20s. I mean, there is a lot of optimism in the party. We're at record levels of membership. People are now joining us in disgust at the Labour Party. I'm very positive. I think we've made real progress, and if there is another election, we'll do surprisingly well.
There are also, I mean, there's constant chatter, isn't there, about the possibility of a new party being formed, with speculation that, you know, politicians at the minute have vacated the centre ground. There's a story in The Observer about it today, saying 6 Labour MPs are effectively poised to quit the party and do just that. So have you been approached by MPs from other parties about this?
Yes, indeed. There've been, I mean, it's well reported for months that there is actually a much bigger group of Labour MPs, not just 6, who are deeply unhappy with Corbyn's leadership and don't see any future.
And so they've spoken to you about it then?
Oh, yes, indeed. Well, there's Conservatives as well. So it's not just the Labour Party.
And what have they said to you?
I think as of now, they're basically working with us to stop Brexit, to try and get a people's vote. There is a very strong group of people working as a team to try and deliver that. I think when the Brexit issue is resolved for one way or the other, I think they will reconsider their position in the Labour Party. I can't predict exactly what will happen, but I think there's a real chance of a significant group breaking away, and if that happens, we will work with them in some form.
And what does that mean then? Does that mean that they will join the Liberal Democrats, or does it actually mean that the Liberal Democrats will effectively be subsumed into another party?
No, we're not subsuming ourselves into anything, but I don't know exactly what form this could take. It partly depends on the events of the next few weeks, actually, around Brexit.
It could be a coalition, not standing against each other. Is that the kind of thing you're talking about?
Well, there are all kinds of possibilities, but I think where there are common values, we will operate together. It's very difficult to set up a new party under the first-past-the-post system. I think they recognise that. And it will be sensible, if we do have common values and common interests, that we work together in some way. But that's some way down the track.
How many MPs are we talking about?
I don't know. The figure of 6 this morning seemed very much at the lower end of the figures quoted to me. But again, we'll see. It's their choice, not mine.
OK. Vince Capel, thank you very much.